Welcome to Wellness Rebranded. We know there is so much conflicting health and fitness advice out there.
And you're tired of the wellness fads, endless diets, and impossible standards that make you feel like nothing you do is ever enough.
You're ready to tune into your mind and body and feel empowered around health.
We're the Healing Trio, here to help you redesign your relationships with food, fitness, and yourself.
I'm Elizabeth, registered dietitian and certified intuitive eating counselor.
I'm Maria, licensed mental health therapist.
And I'm Tara, personal trainer.
Together, we're changing the narrative on health away from diet culture, hustle culture, and toxic positivity and towards healthful self-care.
So grab your water bottle, get ready to laugh, learn, and grow.
And let's start rebranding your wellness journey.
Welcome back to another episode of Wellness Rebranded. This is Elizabeth. I am here actually solo today without Maria or Tara. It is just me recording an episode with my friend Steff. And so this is a little bit of a different episode, a little bit special. I'm excited to share it with you. Steff and I met when she first joined my Thrive Tribe intuitive eating coaching program. And she has so graciously and generously agreed to come back and share a little bit of her intuitive eating journey with us and what it is like to go through this process of dropping out of diet culture, of healing your relationship with food in your body, of really learning a different way to connect with your body, to connect with yourself outside the rules and the confines of diet culture. So I really hope that you'll find it helpful. It's an honest conversation. We talk about the ups and the downs of healing your relationship with food, but she so eloquently describes what it's like. And really, we talk about how intuitive eating turns into intuitive living in a way that you just really have to experience to fully understand. And I hope you really, really enjoy this conversation. And of course, thanks so much to Steff for being willing to come and share some of her experience with us. Let's jump in. So, hi, Steff. I'm super excited to talk to you. And before we get into the conversation, let's just introduce everyone to who you are and how we met.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm Steff, and I was part of your intuitive eating group. Oh gosh, about a year ago now, I think. And I was kind of a beautiful fan from afar and just felt like it was time to dive in. And I'm so glad I did.
I'm so glad. So I'm really excited for you to share what this intuitive eating journey was like for you.
Well, I have lupus, and I have, at the time, kind of what triggered my push was I, at that point, was diagnosed with hypertension, and they didn't know if it was stress induced or if it was just secondary to the disease itself, or if it was hereditary because it runs in my family. So I was like, you know what? Yes, I absolutely want to promote my health. Let's see what we can do to start this journey, but I wanted to combat it from both ends. Let's do that nutrition piece, and let's do, traditional methods. And I've had so you talk about the pendulum a lot in our
swinging
session.
Between restricting and overeating for anyone who's not quite sure.
And so where I was I had gone back and forth quite a bit. So it was starting to kind of in those halfway points. So it wasn't all the way up here, but it was kind of in the midway where you were hitting maybe a 45-degree angle on both sides versus the complete 180, 90, whatever. So I had some experience with both. I've done meal plans in the past and things like that. There was the psychology piece that wasn't sticking for me. So I'm like, okay, I need to get to the why things aren't sticking. And so going through the program, one, forgiveness was kind of the biggest takeaway for me. As someone who learned to read, literally, I learned to read by reading food labels. So that tells you how long I've been on diets and restrictive and that sort of thing. I was about 4 or 5. So for me, that forgiveness piece and the joy of eating and going away from certain words like safe versus trigger versus like the touch words are no longer in my vocabulary. And it's not so much what I eat, it's my cravings have changed. So like I crave texture, I crave color, I crave like watermelon's been a thing lately, like lots of hydration and kind of if you're into like Ayurvedic type stuff, like more of like that pitta cool kind of vibe has been my theme lately. But the way I eat has changed and how I perceive eating in general just has changed.
Ooh, so tell us more. What are like a couple of the biggest changes?
Okay. So for instance, I thought I loved pizza. I thought I did because I ate it all the time. Well, it turns out it was more of a binge food for me, and I still enjoy it, but I eat it maybe once a month, maybe once every other month. Like, but I thought it was the one food I would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner and could never get tired. Turns out I actually crave more like Indian dishes, Thai dishes, like add spice, add texture, add flavor. And I'm more into those types of foods than I am.
And may I ask you, so if you feel like sharing prior to intuitive eating, when it felt like, oh my gosh, I could eat pizza morning, noon, and night, is that a food that you sort of were telling yourself you shouldn't eat, or maybe felt guilty if you did eat, or felt like you had to super hyper manage it, or not really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. It was very much a, once I ate it, there were, and I don't want to say consequences, but there were ramifications and things I had to do. Correct. Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Right. So it's just like, I asked that question to point out the power of like, you have full permission to eat it unconditionally right now. And then it turns out, wow, maybe I don't even, I enjoy it, but I don't have to have, it's like, it changes, right?
It's not the first thing I go to anymore. Like when people are like, what do you want? Usually I used to be like, oh, I could go for a pizza. No, it's not anymore. Honestly, it's, ooh, do you have a good Thai place nearby? Ooh, do you have like, what's Mediterranean too is another thing. Especially in the summer, like the cool, crisp. Yeah. I'm actually, I was kind of digging the salad you made the other day, the watermelon salad. I'm like,
that was yummy.
Yeah.
I posted it on Instagram.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, those are the flavors and the textures I'm craving right now. And it's funny. One of our favorite restaurants here actually makes really good summertime. Actually, I may have that for dinner tonight.
Oh, there you go. Sparking ideas. What about, so your eating has shifted and the way that you feel about food has shifted and how has that impacted the quality of your life?
Well, I'm no longer on blood pressure meds. So,
amazing.
So my unit of measurement is not like a number on a scale. It's not, I'm not obsessed about that anymore. Even at the doctor's office, if they feel like they have to, I just turn around and I'm like, don't tell me. I don't need to know. I want to know what my lab work says. I want to know what my blood pressure is. I want to know like, am I dehydrated? What do those numbers say? And I was on, and I'll fully share, I was on 2.5 milligrams of Norvasc, which is very, very small. And I was starting to bottom out at night. Like my blood pressure would be like 90 over 50, 96 over 52. And I'm like, okay, doc, do we think it's time to remove me? He went, let's see how you do without it now. I think you're ready. So so that's one big thing.
And that's like we minimizing the stress, right? Surrounding food, different techniques for managing stress, and really just focusing on those healthful behaviors without focusing on weight loss. And that's what you did different, right?
Yeah. And piggybacking off of that, meal planning is no longer stressful. And so one thing I do that is, so I know in group, we talked about it. I hated grocery shopping. Well, is it cost effective for me to order things online through a certain package or whatever? And so I've been doing that, and I'm able to make grocery lists and meal plan that way. And then I have a dry erase kind of thing on my fridge, and I just say, here are the meals that we have for the week and the ingredients that go with each. And that way I'm also not forgetting the ingredients that I have in the fridge. And I tend to go more towards the produce that's in my fridge. I tend to go towards like nuts and berries. And we also have a really yummy farmer's market on Saturday. So that's where we get like our meats and things. Yeah. So it's, what are some sides that are going to go with that? And so,
and it's because you want to, right?
Yes,
not because you have to eat. Someone's telling you have to eat all these vegetables, or like you genuinely
I crave them.
Want that. Did you ever imagine that those are the things you would crave?
Never. Never. I was an ice cream and pizza girl, and I ate salads as punishment, not as punishment, but because I was told I had to. And now I'm like, ooh, I keep spinach on hand and just grab it by the handfuls. And it's like, ooh, I have some nuts. I have some berries. I have this yummy dressing. Let me throw it together. And it takes like 2 seconds. And it's fun and it's easy. And like, I actually enjoy what I eat. And it
feels so, I always struggle with how to describe to people what it feels like, but it's just liberating, right? And empowering are the 2 words that I always come back to, and more fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And this will sound really dorky, but I'm also saving money because I'm not going out. So like with the stress of planning, it was, I'm just going to DoorDash, or, I'm just going to order, or, I'm just, and we don't we're going out to eat tonight with family, but this is the first time all week, like maybe once, twice a week versus like 5-6 nights a week. It's been great.
Yeah, that's amazing. So before, were you skeptical about intuitive eating? I mean, I try to share with people what it's like and getting back in touch with your body and sort of, naturally craving more nutrient dense foods, not because someone's force feeding them to you or because you have to stay within a calorie limit, or like rebuilding that sense of trust of keeping any food you want to keep in your pantry and knowing that you can feel confident and in control around it. And I'm curious if you were skeptical about how all of that could work for you prior to beginning.
I feel like you were very kind and I could trust you right off the bat. But that being said, there is that innate fear that, okay, you're the first nutritionist I've talked to that doesn't comment on the scale, that doesn't comment on you need this, and this, and is so restrictive. I think I was more curious than afraid because I'm like, other methods didn't work up to this point, or they worked to a point. And I already know that with my past relationship with food, I needed to change the psychological piece of it. And you were bringing something different. So I'm like, you're teaching me a principle to trust myself. Yeah. Maybe that's the piece I need to work on. And so it's funny because I think the fear went away when, this sounds so stupid and I'm going to cry, but the fear went away when we were in group together. And I don't know if you remember, but I had bought Girl Scout cookies. I had bought Thin Mints and I put them in my freezer. And for the first time in my life, they got freezer burnt. Because I actually forgot they were in there. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. I didn't eat the whole box in one sitting. I forgot they existed because I was so excited over everything else I had in my fridge or everything else I had available to me. Like, that's not something that happened ever in my life. And I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I am trusting my body. And honestly, I got 2 things that sold me immediately. The first thing was in our first meeting to see if it was a good idea. And you taught me how to do that body scan.
I was going to say, I know exactly what you're going to say. Go ahead.
And you taught me the body scan. And I never realized how disassociated I originally was from my body and just in general, like whether I was sick, whether I was thirsty, like not food aside, in general, I was so disassociated from my body. Because I'm like, I'm scanning. I feel this here. I feel this here. Oh, what can I do to remedy that? It takes 2 seconds. Okay, here we go. And then feeling a hunger cue for the very first time kind of just blew me away.
Yeah. And I remember you felt that actually live in our session, and it was like really powerful.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. And I explained it. And you're like, I think because one thing I love is your narrative. It's always comes from such a place of kindness and grace, and it's never giving me an answer, but it's guiding me to what I think I hear you saying. And that's a narrative that resonates strongly with me. And like what I was describing was a hunger cue. And I'm like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
And then learning how to, one, understand the level of hunger I was feeling. Like there are different levels. And then you don't have, and this sounds really silly, but for someone who's never felt hunger or fullness before, I've only felt hangry and sick. Like only knowing the poles.
Extremes. Yeah.
Yeah. The extremes. Yeah. It was, oh, so maybe I don't need a full meal. Maybe I just need a little snack. Let's see how we feel in a couple minutes. Maybe add something as we go. And that has helped me so much. Like I can't even express my gratitude. It's worth its weight in gold. Just that skill alone has helped immensely on this journey.
It's so powerful. And it just I can't help but think about how much we're trained to look outside of ourselves for the answers when it comes to food, movement, all of our other, like that just, somebody give me the plan, tell me how many calories, tell me which foods to avoid, tell me like how long I have to be on the treadmill, right? It's always outside. And like, it's so, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but like really the answers are within us.
It's instinctual. If you can actually listen to your body, like the skills you teach go beyond food. And that's what I loved. Like, and I guess that was the final thing was my movement piece. Because I came from such a restrictive and then party time kind of mentality, it was, well, you have to take this many steps a day. You have to do this much. You have to do this much. And I was like, you know what? And when you met me, I was in kind of the party mode. I was coming off of that party mode, if you will. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to do this because I've done it my whole life and I've injured myself and and it's
It's like rebellion, a little bit of rebellion, right?
Rebellion. Yeah, it was total rebellion. So what do I do now that I'm close to work? I bought an electric bike and I bike to work. Yeah. I sneak in. And yesterday, I walked, my movement break was walking up to the ice cream shop, which is about 2 miles from my house, like 2 miles to and from my house. So I'm like, I get a good walk in and I get a treat.
And I get ice cream. What's better than that?
Exactly. And if I walk just a couple, like maybe 100 feet farther, there's a yoga studio. So I can do yoga as well, and so, like we went to the beach last week. I went kayaking, and I just love being in the water. And it's being able to try things and not because you have to, but because you want to. And you would be proud. I bought some hiking shoes. Yeah. And I've been hiking. I know. I'm
obsessed with hiking.
I know. That's why I was like, oh my gosh. So and it's something my husband and I actually really enjoy doing together. Yeah. So we kind of just, again, nothing crazy yet, but little like Roosevelt Island here and there, or my goal is to build up to Billy Goat, but not yet.
Yeah, love that one. I was going to say we'll have to swap notes about where we like to hike, but
I love it.
So here's a question for you. If you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing before you started this intuitive eating journey with me, what would you tell yourself?
Be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Be patient with yourself. It's a process. There's so much we have to unlearn in order to make space for the new information. And
yes,
it can be, I don't want to say frustrating, that's the wrong word, but you're learning, right? So when you're learning, you have those growing pains. And when you're unlearning, you're removing that old not information. So
and it doesn't just automatically disappear, right? That stuff is still in your brain all the time.
No, it's still in your brain. Oh yeah. And it's not perfect. But I know how much happier I feel having the new tools and just forgiveness and patience.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, if someone were to ask me, those are definitely two of the tools. I would say right at the outset, we need forgiveness and patience and self-compassion, which is really, I guess, kind of like self-forgiveness, but yeah. And it's not a linear journey. You're right. It's not like this perfect magical thing that happens. It's hard freaking work, and there's ups and downs and challenges that arise, but overall it's worth it, right? Like, I mean,
it's worth its weight in gold. It's a whole new, because you're developing a whole new mindset, and it doesn't just apply. Like I said, it doesn't just apply to food. I feel like as a country in general, we're so disassociated from our instincts. We're so disassociated from our mind, our body, our spirit, because we're on devices all day. It's all, like you said earlier, it's all about the external. So what this journey is truly doing is it's bringing you back internal. It's bringing you back to who you are and identifying what your individual needs are to feel safe, nourished, supported in more than just food.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I could not have said that any better than how you just did. It's so often people tell me, and I know other practitioners as well, that intuitive eating turns into intuitive living. And I think it really is what you just described. It's about the food, but it's about so much more than the food.
Oh yeah.
It's how you show up in life and for yourself in lots of different areas.
And it's weird because one thing I've noticed, and I don't want to say it's a side effect, but it is a side effect, is when becoming more intuitive with myself, I'm noticing that I'm a little bit crankier, more frustrated. Why is that? Do I need a break? Okay, time to set some boundaries. Okay, what does that look like? And it's being able to, I don't want to say take control, but in an era, I'm sure you and I grew up in an era where boundary setting was very challenging, and it wasn't promoted at all. So this journey has really given me the permission to look internally and understand, oh, this is what I need to I don't want to say fix, but to complete
support myself.
Work. Yeah, exactly. To support myself. And, I need a rest. Okay. Let me take a few minutes here and just take a breath, do a breathing exercise, ground myself. And I've been grounding myself before meetings lately at work. And that's made a huge difference in meetings that I've had professionally. Oh yeah. Like it's just, this program touches on so much more than just food and covers like I said, it's worth its weight in gold. I'm so grateful.
So who do you think should consider starting an intuitive eating journey? Who do you think who would you say?
Everyone. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what I would say, but I'm a little biased.
But anyone who is just done feeling frustrated with the scale, frustrated with just mealtime struggles in general. I envision someone like me who's been looking at labels since she learned to read by looking at nutrition labels, and they teach me nothing. And it's okay. The foods I actually enjoy don't even have labels anymore. Like that's the funny part. And there's no, and like throwing away the rule book, like for a rebel like me was like, that's language I understood. That's language that resonated deeply with me. And I'm like, ooh, like I like this. Like, I like it. So, truly anybody who just wants a different perspective and wants to feel that joy again and wants to understand that it's work. It is very different. For anyone looking to find certain quantifiable results in a certain direction, you won't find that. But if you want that internal peace and that internal hope and that excitement and joy, sign up and don't think twice.
And I assume by quantifiable results, you're referring specifically to the scale. Because you actually do have quantifiable results in your lab markers.
I do in my lab work. You're right. You're right. True. I just don't want to trigger anyone by saying certain words, but yes, that was, I was referring specifically.
If you're ready or willing or curious of going beyond the scale, which brings up a really good point. That can be really scary, right? So like what would you say to that fear of, but what might happen if I take my focus off the scale?
Well, I go back. It's funny for me. I look at, for me, I'm a data dork, right? So I look at other units of measurement. I look at my blood work. I look at my blood pressure. That was kind of the big one. Mm-hmm. I look at the amount of water I'm drinking each day. And then again, going back intuitively, how are you feeling inside?
Yeah.
Do you have energy? Are you feeling lethargic? Are you in pain anywhere? And I noticed for me, my energy has increased. I realize now I have to move or my joints do get sore and fatigued. So I'm like, I need to plan more movement breaks. But again, now that I intuitively know that, I can put those plans in motion. I didn't know that before. And I was just angry and like, oh, I'm in pain. Why am I in pain? Blah, blah, blah. But I just, for me, the scale is no longer, if I have to, again, I have lupus. So if I use it to gauge inflammation, but I let my doctor do that part. Mm-hmm. For me, it's not a make it or break it.
Yeah.
It's just how.
So I love that you're articulating, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're articulating kind of what it's like to not be tied to the scale, right? Mm-hmm. Like all the things you just mentioned are all the things you can gain by really learning how to shift your focus off of it, which is pretty awesome.
Well, and the stress I mean, okay, so you focus on the scale and is it pleasurable or punishable? And for me, it felt very punishing. And why am I going to punish something that I love so incredibly much? And food shouldn't be a reward or a punishment. You eat to nourish yourself. And going back to that scaled mentality, it felt like a punishment. And so you were giving me a reward. And I'm like, okay, let me trust that. Let me see where I go with that. And I'm rebelling against the system, which of course, I mean, I always love a good rebellion, let's be honest. But I felt so much freer. And then the stress from the scale, stress levels have reduced. Therefore, blood pressure has reduced. Therefore, I mean, inflammation. There we go. Inflammation has reduced quite a bit, actually. So it's been a great experience of just changing your mentality, changing the pressures on yourself. As women, we have enough pressures as it is. We don't need to add a silly little robotic thing that gives you a number. It's just a number. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. So thank you. You have done such a great job of articulating so many, just what it's like to go through an intuitive eating journey and some of what you can gain and being honest about the challenges, which I just so super appreciate. So I guess I would love to ask you just one last kind of specific question about the Thrive Tribe and what you would say to someone who's considering it. That's the name of my group intuitive eating coaching program, just in case somebody doesn't know.
Yes. So I love how you developed and created a narrative for a safe space. And even in here, we were able to kind of model and moderate what that looks like and what that sounds like in the group. And so I loved that because this is an emotional space. People are going to come with triggers. People are going to come. It is very vulnerable, but you create a space where if something's not setting right, I loved that I could always follow up with you and ask questions or say, hey, this, I'm not sure why, but this sat a little bit differently with me. Why? Or, oh, this, because again, we all come from our own journeys and perspectives. And when you're in a place of vulnerability, we are going to share things that may trigger someone else. And so you do a beautiful job moderating that and making that a place, I mean, truly, where you do feel safe. And we are able to kind of guide each other along the way and learn the narrative that keeps that space safe. So expect a change in narrative, which is good. And then also, I liked using the workbook along with the articles and the online platform, because for me, I could then go and refer back and I could kind of do things at my own pace, because I will say, for me, I did have to go back a few times. There were certain things that resonated. I was able to absorb more quickly.
Yeah, it depends when you're ready to receive them, right?
Yes. So I loved being able to kind of go back and be like, okay, now I'm ready to tackle this. And now I'm ready to tackle this. And so I really enjoyed that. I loved our meetings. I felt like it was a great place to share. I will say, make sure you're in a space where you feel comfortable sharing, like in a room where you can be a little bit quieter. I know there were some in the tribe I was in. We had some friends at work who maybe didn't feel as comfortable sharing at the first meeting, but then by the second meeting, they're like, okay, yeah, everyone's gone for the day. I'm good. I feel confident.
Such an important point. Yeah, your physical space, like lending itself to, because we go deep sometimes, right? I mean, and you want to feel comfortable doing that. Yeah. Okay. So if you had to sum up in one sentence how intuitive eating has changed your life, what's your sentence?
Intuitive eating has helped me maintain remission and live my life freely and authentically.
Love it. Beautiful. I totally put you on the spot with that. And that was like a beautiful answer you came up with. So thank you so much for being willing to come and share your story. I'm so really grateful. I know it's going to help so many people out there who are wondering what this is all about, wondering if it could be for them, if it might work for them, just on the fence. It really, I know, is going to be super helpful. So thank you for being willing to share that.
Gosh. Thank you for the platform in this space. Join.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. We will talk to you, Steff.
All right.
Bye. If you too would like to heal your relationship with food in your body, if you want to find a more peaceful, positive, empowering relationship with food, with your body, with yourself, and you are curious or ready to drop out of diet culture and learn how to eat intuitively and practice gentle, flexible nutrition and health promoting self-care, I invite you to apply to my Thrive Tribe group coaching program. The next group launches in the middle of September. Enrollment is open right now. The doors are open, and the best way for you to get started or figure out if this is the right next step for you is to book a free whole health strategy call with me. It's an opportunity to chat about your goals, to learn more about intuitive eating, to learn a little bit more about how intuitive eating or how my Thrive Tribe groups work and what it looks like to work with me so that you can make an empowered decision and we can decide together if you're a good fit for the group. But if you're interested, I would love to talk to you. Reach out at the link in the show notes, book that free whole health strategy call with me, and let's go from there.